The bike ride and through it, the Hospital Foundation have been really the cornerstone of why we are a successful cardiology unit or cardiothoracic unit today. I mean, for the last 15 years they've supported us. I've been here now for 10 years and over that time I've seen it grow, and we certainly wouldn't be where we are without the assistance of the Hospital Foundation and really this bike ride. And I guess by the community. You know, the community, we all know they were issued a challenge a few years ago to raise money for a second operating room, a second cath lab. They took up that challenge and within 3 months the funds were raised, and it's a privilege to be living in a community like that, and it's certainly incredibly humbling, and it helps us do what we need to do so that we can help more far north Queenslanders. It is a challenge, you know, and that's important, but it's not the cardiac easy, it's the cardiac challenge. It's a 3-day bike ride, over 300 kilometres, Cairns to Cooktown. So there are some tough segments. We ride the Coranda range, and then on the second day the Desailly range, so these are steep. But what I will say is that every time I've done this, and everyone that I've never seen anyone without a smile on their face. So it's a fantastic experience for those that haven't done it. And I would encourage anyone to go ahead and do this ride. It brings the community together, and it's great to see so many people sharing stories and having fun together for a good cause. So this is the 15th running of the annual Cardiac Challenge. So this is the Cairns to Cooktown bike ride, 335 kilometres over 3 days to raise money typically for the cardiac unit at the Cairns Hospital. This year we'll also be supporting the respiratory unit of the Cairns Hospital. So, you know, I always say hearts is the most important, but hearts and lungs are very closely related, and one of my colleagues and friends, Dr Stephen Vincent, has been supporting this ride for the last few years, and so we're also now integrating, and we're raising money for both the heart and lung units of this hospital. Brings a different aspect to it. There's a little bit of collegial rivalry, I guess you could say, as well. So that helps with fundraising as well, and it's all for a good cause. So we're raising money from a cardiac point of view for our cardiac unit. We're raising money for a ventilator. Now, ventilators have been in the news a lot in the last 12 months because of the whole pandemic situation. So that's going to certainly give us some extra support here just in case. But really what we need it for is for emergency people coming into the operating room, so our new cath labs. If people are really sick, we have to wheel a ventilator from the intensive care unit or somewhere else. So now we will have a ventilator situated within our cath lab. It also helps because we're doing more and more complex procedures there now, and some of those require us to have general anaesthetic. So things like where we go in and close holes in the heart, we usually put people to sleep for them first. And so rather than having to borrow a ventilator from another unit, we're going to be able to use our own, so a special type of ventilator in the cath lab.
I think we've gone away from organ-specific units where it's just heart and lungs and kidneys and gastro. And really the heart and the lungs are actually work together in synchrony. Even though we've had the Cardiac Challenge raising money for cardiac services over the last 15 years or so, I guess being part of it in the last 4 years has really shown me how well I can bring the community together and also complement what the cardiologists are doing with assisting in bringing some respiratory equipment as well. Because one of the pieces of equipment we're going to get towards with the fundraising is special lung function testing equipment that can get people who require cardiac surgery much quicker for the surgery than they were before, because there's always a time delay. So it's not, so we've sort of gone away from the us versus them phenomenon. We've come together, and I think it's something like the Cardiac Challenge which actually has done that. Rather than being in hospitals where you're in departments and fragmented, we're actually in a social setting, in a positive setting, raising money, and I mean that's how all this sort of came about. It was from the Cardiac Challenge. So I'm incredibly honoured to be part of getting equipment for the respiratory department through the Cardiac Challenge, because it's initially the platform is cardiac. I've already started training because Greg's a natural. And unfortunately, I think his fitness, he was born with it, where I've had to work for it. So I've already started training. I've had the last 2 weeks off, so I've gone up and down Copperload probably about 5 times. And so I'm trying to maintain 100 kilometres a week in riding. I've got a few plans up my sleeve.
Look, we're very excited. The Far North Queensland Hospital Foundation has run the Cardiac Challenge for the last 15 years, and in that time we've raised over $4 million for the cardiac unit at the Cairns Hospital. Look, we've just opened early bird registrations, so we encourage anyone to get involved. You don't have to ride the event. You can actually be a volunteer. There's a massive support crew of volunteers and backup people, but it's all about what the end result is, and that's raising money for better cardiac services at Cairns Hospital.